Imagine it's the 1930s. For the past 6 hours, you haven't been able to sleep. Your stomach is confused. Your eyes feel sandblasted. And your sense of time is going haywire. Little do you know, you're one of the first humans to experience jet lag. But the strange part is, passenger jets don't even exist yet. We've got to go back to when flying itself was still a novelty. For most of human history, travel was just too slow to create modern jet lag. Walking, sailing, horses, and even a lot of early train trips gave your body time to adjust as the sun moved overhead. You could still be miserable, obviously, seasick, hungry, sleep-deprived, stressed, covered in horse smell. But that's not automatically jet lag. Jet lag isn't just being tired from travel. It's what happens when you cross time zones faster than your internal clock can reset. And before circadian rhythm, science was widely understood. A traveler who felt terrible might blame nerves, bad food, motion sickness, bad sleep, or just the physical misery of travel. They could feel the symptoms without having the vocabulary to separate jet lag from the general disaster of going places. Commercial aviation started small, very small. On January 1st, 1914, the St. Petersburg-Tampa airboat line began flying across Tampa Bay. According to the Smithsonian, the route was about 18 miles, or 29 kilometers, and took around 23 minutes. Former St. Petersburg Mayor A.C. Field paid $400 to become its first passenger. That's $10,000 in today's money. The airline carried 1,204 passengers before shutting down after about 3 months. Revolutionary? Absolutely. A jet lag machine? Not really. Nobody was desynchronizing their biology on a 23-minute hop across Florida water. That's just a commute with goggles. The CDC describes jet lag as a sleep disorder caused by rapid travel across time zones. The main problem is a temporary mismatch between local time and your internal biological clock. Your watch changes instantly. Your body doesn't. Symptoms can include trouble sleeping, daytime sleepiness, brain fog, general misery, and gastrointestinal issues, because apparently even your stomach wants a vote on the schedule. Not everyone experiences jet lag the same. Some barely feel it, while for others, like those with heart conditions, jet lag can be debilitating or even deadly. Clinically, the CDC summarizes jet lag disorder as usually involving travel across at least 2 time zones, followed within a day or 2 by insomnia or excessive sleepiness, plus daytime impairment or physical symptoms. Direction matters, because your body clock isn't equally flexible both ways. The CDC notes that most people adjust more easily by delaying the body clock than advancing it. Westward travel often feels easier because staying up later is usually less awful than forcing yourself to fall asleep earlier. Average adaptation is roughly 1.5 hours per day westward and about 1 hour per day eastward. Flying west asks your body to have a longer day. Flying east asks your body to skip ahead, and your brain does not like being rushed. I respect that. I'm also a clock. So before jets, who could even experience this? Early commercial flights were usually too short, too slow, and too local to make jet lag common. But aviation was changing fast. The first people likely to notice this weren't ordinary passengers. They were record-setting pilots, navigators, military flyers, and long-distance aviation pioneers. This is where the title gets annoying, which is rude of it. We probably can't name the literal first person ever to experience jet lag. Too many cases were never recorded, and plenty of people would have just called it fatigue or travel strain. But we can spot the era when humans started moving fast enough for the problem to become obvious. Meet Wiley Post. In 1931, Post and navigator Harold Gatty flew around the world in the Lockheed Vega Winnie Mae. Smithsonian records show they left on June 23rd and returned on July 1st. They completed a 14-stop world circuit in a little over 8 days, covering 15,474 miles. This wasn't a jet. It was a propeller aircraft, but they were moving through time zones so quickly that the basic ingredients of jet lag were absolutely there. So, how do we know Post experienced jet lag? Annoyingly, history didn't hand us a perfect medical form labeled, "Congratulations, you invented time zone suffering." Post didn't write the phrase jet lag because that phrase wouldn't appear in print until decades later. What we have is a strong retrospective case, the documented route, the speed of the circumnavigation, and accounts of a flight built around exhaustion, irregular sleep, and repeated time zone jumps. Post and Gatty later published Around the World in 8 Days, describing the trip as a blur of stops, navigation, weather, fatigue, and snatched rest, not a tidy clinical diagnosis. So the evidence isn't Post saying, My circadian rhythm is messed up. It's the physical reality of the flight. Cramped cockpit, engine noise, vibration, pressure to keep moving, clocks changing again and again. They were obviously sleep-deprived and stressed, but layered on top was something newer. Their bodies were being dragged around the planet faster than their internal clocks could follow. Jet lag may have existed as a feeling before it existed as an explanation. So was Wiley Post the first man to experience jet lag? Probably not, if we're being literal. Other long-distance aviators may have felt the same thing before him. Some fast train, airship, or early aviation routes may have caused milder circadian disruption. And lots of early travelers probably misread the symptoms as stress, fatigue, nerves, or just travel being terrible. But Post and Gatty are among the best-known early examples of humans moving fast enough across enough time zones to experience what we'd now recognize as jet lag. The condition existed before the word, but jets made it common. On May 2, 1952, the de Havilland Comet entered BOIC service. The RAF Museum identifies it as the first commercial jet airliner. It carried 36 passengers, cruised at about 720 kilometers per hour, or 450 miles per hour, and had a range of about 4,000 kilometers. This is when the problem stopped belonging only to record-breaking aviators and started becoming something regular passengers could feel. Before jets, long-distance travel was slower, more broken up, and less accessible. Your body had more chances to catch up. With jets, intercontinental travel became faster and practical. Business travelers, tourists, diplomats, athletes, and flight crews could cross multiple time zones in a single day. The human body had evolved for sunrise and sunset. The airline timetable had not, because of course, the lever wasn't consulted when London scheduled a meeting in Singapore. The name came after the experience. Smithsonian's Air and Space magazine notes that the phrase jet lag appears to have entered print in a February 13, 1966 Los Angeles Times article by Horace Sutton. Sutton described the basic idea as jets moving so fast they leave body rhythms behind. By then, commercial jet service had already been around for more than a decade. People felt it first. Doctors studied it next. Then journalism gave it the perfect two-word name. Before that, the same symptoms could hide under ordinary words: tiredness, strain, nerves, travel stress. By the 1960s, aviation medicine was taking circadian disruption more seriously. Flight crews, pilots, and frequent international travelers weren't just uncomfortable. Alertness could take a hit. Performance could take a hit. Sleep could be disrupted over and over again. Jet lag became more than a passenger complaint. It became a safety issue, a medical issue, and a workplace issue. Today, the scale is absurd. ICAO reported that scheduled air services carried about 4.7 billion passengers in 2024. The CDC says prevalence data are limited, but one survey found that 68% of international business travelers regularly experienced negative jet lag symptoms. What started as a strange side effect of extreme aviation became one of the most ordinary discomforts of globalization. And yes, there are ways to help, not magic. Sorry, app developers. CDC-supported strategies include timed light exposure, timed melatonin, strategic sleep scheduling, hydration, avoiding too much alcohol, and taking short naps instead of accidentally hibernating through an entire afternoon. The timing matters, especially depending on whether you're flying east or west. This isn't about hacking your body so much as helping your internal clock catch up. When Wiley Post climbed out of the Winnie Mae in 1931, there was no phrase for what rapid time zone travel could do to a person. No one could say he was jet-lagged, because the word didn't exist, and the passenger jet age hadn't begun. But the moment humans learned to cross the planet faster than sunrise could make sense of, we created a new kind of tired, one measured not in miles, but in time. The jet came later. The lag was already waiting.